the green roofs I'm designing or engineering or building or however, they are always trying to copy the natural environment. Just going back to this point where I say, okay, I remove the natural environment,
nature,
putting it
yeah.
up on. So having, let's say, in the desert, a golf course on top of a roof might look good, but makes no sense.
No.
You know, it is from a maintenance, irrigation, and all that stuff. It's far too high. I wanna have the same a natural piece of land at some point up on a roof, and then it is very easy to keep it there.
So what about maintenance? Do you need to climb up and cut the
Well, yeah, sure.
How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, usually the roofs, I put green roofs on it. I put a couple emphasis on it, and I'm pretty sure we get to that. But one emphasis is the accessibility. You need to be able to access it. That doesn't mean the building owner has to go up there every day and take pictures. And I mean, he can take pictures or she, but to do something. I think when you have a very close natural environment, you don't need to do a lot of things other than maybe a maintenance of once or twice a year. I have most of my roofs, I avoid monocultures with certain succulent type of plants. What you see on the internet everywhere, this almost carpet-like succulent type of plants called sedum. I try to avoid that. I try to create a diversity up there because then the maintenance is very simple. We go up there maybe in late fall or in winter and just mow everything down to a height of, let's say, 10 centimeters.
Right.
And depending on how these plants grew over this time, we either remove the clippings, what we cut off, or we leave it there. When you leave it there, you create more nutrients and more organic mass. So you will have a natural succession. That means in the next year, there will be even more plants and potentially even trees coming up, what you don't like. So depending on the situation.
They feed each other, don't they?
Exactly. And so either I take the food out or I leave it there, depending on how it's developed over the year. So in a newer construction, I typically leave the food up there.
Up there. So from a user perspective, if you have a green roof on your house, apart from replacing the nature and helping with if there's any excess rain, etc., do you feel there are any indoor consequences, benefits, advantages, disadvantages to having a green roof?
Yeah, that's what I also mentioned. I want to have in this shallow system, I want to make sure that the temperature is not increasing over a certain level for the plants and the roots. But this lower temperature in a deeper system, in hot areas, can be a shallower system. This lower temperatures also help, obviously, to reduce the temperature within the building. So the roof is not heating up. First, the plants are shading everything. It's like even if it's just a small plant, it's like a little tree that creates a little shade. It's cooling the system for itself, and then the materials
avoiding the heat island that the buildings cause.
Yes, correct. And then the materials within the system, they have an additional insulation function where you cannot put a number behind it because the insulating value depends on the moisture content. This is the main driver. So in a relatively moist system in summer, you have a lot of cooling. So your roof stays relatively cool. But if you have a lot of moisture, for example, in winter, you can have theoretically a colder roof than it would be exposed. In other words, the temperature of the roof stay always very similar. So they go up in summer a little bit more, but the wave, it's not going like that.
So it helps with thermal comfort indoors.
Oh, absolutely. Exactly. I mean, this is very important, but also important to know that it is typically just on the floor below.
Right.
You know, I see a lot of people writing, there's insulation value, and then they show me a 25-story high building.
Of
There's
course.
not much insulation value on the third floor.
No. So, well, I had one question which I've already been answered by the television screen behind you, which was about, do you have to choose between solar panels or green roofs? And I see the answer is no. What I did want to ask you is, to finalize, where do you see the future of green roof technology, sorry, going? Do you foresee it as something that's going to be increasing? Is that we're going to see new things that we haven't seen before?
So there's one thing. Absolutely, I see an increasing market. There's no question about it. In Europe, I would say in Europe, as an average, it increases by 10 to 15% every year. In North America, it's much slower. So it takes much longer in North America to adopt to this technology. Sometimes for me, disappointing and almost frustrating how slowly they are. But there is absolutely a trend. So all the benefits with stormwater retention, heat island effect, heating, cooling, biodiversity, and all these items are getting more and more recognized all over the world, especially, I think, also in residential construction, where the resident themselves doesn't want to be the polluter, so to speak. He wants to fit into the environment, into the nature, and he wants to do something good, because this is where he can really show off and do something good. Yeah. So
at the end of the day, real estate accounts for 40% of global emissions nearly. So we all have a big role to play and in our everyday way of living.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a huge benefit with green roofs, green infrastructure as a general. I see difficulties in converting all this green roof industry. It's right now very strongly focused on certain components, on a lot of plastic components. As I did my first green roof, just to give you an idea, I had maybe 150-gram plastic per square meter on my first green roof. Meanwhile, the average is around 3,000 to 4,500 grams plastic per square meter. Some of this plastic is recycled, but plastic in general, whether recycled or not, is not necessary.
It's avoidable. Yeah, absolutely.
It's avoidable. And so I hope that the direction goes more in building green roofs with materials that are obviously more natural. And when they are more natural, they are better for the plants, obviously.
Yes.
They have never learned how to deal with a plastic piece, but they know how to deal with a piece of rock, you know. But also that the materials come from urban mining. So there's a lot of components, for example, glass, rubber, and organic materials. I think I could build very easily with materials out from one city a lot of green roofs, that anything has to be shipped in or come in. So it is possible, and that's a trend I'm trying to push. But it's also, I mean, it's also this one little dude pushing all these things up. And
no, well, it starts somewhere, doesn't it?
you have to start somewhere, but also understand that the big corporations, they make money with selling the plastic in all kind of shapes, you know. So it is not going as quickly, but it is possible. And roofs, I mentioned the Rockefeller Center back then, they have had zero plastic back then. And this roof is almost 100 years old and still working. So
there you go. That says it all.
It's all no problem, you know. And the plants are, at the end, the plants will be much more happy.
Well, thank you very much, Jörg. And on that note, I am going to say that it was a pleasure having you. Thank you for all the information on green roofs. And we actually have a few properties on Kerridwen with green roofs, so if anybody wants to go and check them out.
Sure.
Made by Mr. Jörg as well. And so I look forward very much to possible future conversations. And for everybody who's been listening, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Jörg.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Yeah, bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.